And it took me 10 years to realize that when we were busy, we almost ignored the phone. We ignored those potential clients. We stopped inviting people in because we were too busy. But the reality is, when you're the busiest, that's when you have to market the most. That's when you have to make sure there's someone on that phone.
Hey, and welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. And it's the three amigos again. It's Steve, it's Jonathan, and it's Ronan. And we're here to talk to you about, are you struggling with consistent sales?
Before I do that, I just have to note, Ronan, that, it's been us three for the last few podcasts. So why is Janine always on vacation when we're recording podcasts? What's going on?
What do you mean? Janine doesn't do vacation. Janine's working all the time. She doesn't go on vacation.
Right? Janine has a team. It doesn't mean the business shuts down. She's still making money while she's away. So, of course, she can go on a holiday.
Yeah, she always misses these wonderful podcasts, right?
Well, it kind of ties into what we're talking about. Because she has a team, she can still maintain consistency.
There you go. So, consistent sales.
Were you waiting for us to pick that up, Jono? Was that intentional? Or
Look at you. It was not intentional. You're just reframing like a master.
I'm trying to bring you back on track, Jono.
I know.
So one of the things that in my years in business, right, that I've noticed about consistent sales is this idea of continuity. So what I mean by that is that at one stage we had a lithographic print business where we were printing brochures and letterheads and business cards and all that stuff, right? And then we had this other business that was doing packaging. And I noticed that in the print business, we were constantly reinventing ourselves to find more business, right? Because you print a brochure for a company today and they might need another one for 4 years, right? Or while with the packaging, when we were doing packaging that's a consumer packaging, like, the packaging selling all the time. And then you were getting a repeat order for that packaging. And because the people in the factory working, our team working in the factory, because they were dealing with the same job over and over and over again, right? It was much easier to deal with that than a brochure that was coming in from a different graphic designer every single time that had their own impression as to what this needs to look like. And you felt you were constantly reinventing. So, Steve, I know you talk a lot about clients for life, right? Which for me, for a photographer, is continuity, right?
It is.
It's the same sort of principle. So talk to us about that.
Well, it seems to be an aspect that is largely ignored by our industry, in that our industry is constantly looking for new clients all of the time, at the expense of ignoring our current clients, because there's no such thing as a past client, is there, Ronan?
That's right, Steve.
Our current clients are those clients that are in our database that we are still nurturing, and we are or should be actively inviting back. And I think this comes back down to understanding your avatar and understanding where that client sits in their life cycle with you. There's a big focus on getting new clients, doing Facebook, getting new clients. And it is the most laborious, expensive way to build a business. But
it's difficult.
Because you've got to re-educate every single one. You're starting from scratch every time. But what a lot of people are not doing is, once they've done all that work, they've invited a client in, they've educated them, that client has now built a rapport with you, you have a relationship with them, they're ignored by a lot of businesses. It's not just photographers, it's a lot of businesses. The phone companies do it. All the great offers go to brand new customers, and the loyal customers get nothing. A bill. That's about it. And so what are we doing to reward our best clients who are tried and proven, have been loyal, have spent well with us, we enjoy working with them, we need to create that list and we need to understand and invite them back. I was working with somebody the other day who had a boudoir client come in and was absolutely elated with the service she got, how this made her feel, and she mentioned that it's made her go back with a new spark of confidence in her own business. And I think that's what we do. We elevate people to be a higher version of themselves, a better version of themselves. And so we need to understand that when we do that, there is that opportunity to do a branding session now, because she's now elevated herself. We've helped her discover that part of herself that has elevated herself, and now is going in with a brand new spark, a fresh new look at her business. And this is the opportunity that we have now to go in and create a branding experience for her, where now we can explore her why again. What is it that she loves about this business? What does she want to bring to that business? Help her discover who the right avatar is. What is their buying process? What are they looking for when they're looking for that service that she gives? As they're thinking about it, what do they need from there? When they've decided, who do they need you to be then? And then who do you need to be when you're nurturing them? So if we cover off all of these things, already that client knows she needs at least 6 or 7 different photos. And that's just the start.
So, Steve, I have a story from a client I was talking to this week too, and it's very similar but slightly different, right? And I know that you teach and all the teaching about have a reason for the client to come back and make sure that you invite them back. So we're having a conversation, and they said we had this client in yesterday, and she had her boudoir experience, and her partner was with her, right? And during the conversation, when they finished the design consultation, and they'd ordered all the photos that they love, he turned to his wife and said, I haven't seen you smile like this for 2 years. Right? So I said to them then, I said, so when did you book the couples experience? And they looked at me as if to say, what do you mean? Well, he was telling you, book us for another experience for the two of us. And it's funny, this done and done mentality versus, these are clients for life. It's something that's ingrained in our industry that for some reason we think a client only ever wants to come once.
And there's this myth that the more they spend, the more we've burnt them. When in actual fact, the clients that tend to refer us the most, and I used to monitor this on my database, were the ones that spent the most. They're the ones that approached us to build alliances with. They're the ones that tended to refer the most clients to us. And so there's a lot of myths going around. But I think those easy clients and understanding the client life cycle, knowing what the next step is, every one of our boudoir clients we saw as a potential couple if they had a partner or a prospective partner for them to come back. They could potentially be a branding session, because if we've really done what we say we do and we've elevated them to a new level, they should be going back into their life as a new person, which also affects them as a mother or a father. And so that family session should also be coming in. And so it's seeing that opportunity and taking action on it and inviting them back, giving them the reward, because they're tested, tried and proven. They're the easy bookings. They're the ones that pick up the phone because they know you already. And they're easy bookings, tested, tried and proven. We had clients come back to us 4 or 5 times within a 2-year period. And we have to be actively doing this. But getting back to the cycle question, I think people, and we used to, took me a long time, took me 10 years to realize why this cycle of we seem to have 2 weeks where we're making money and we were busy, and then nothing, crickets for 2 weeks. And there was nothing. And then it took off. And so what was happening is we were hot. We were on fire. We were making all this money. It was fantastic. But then the dip that came afterwards sucked up all that work and all that energy and all that profit. And we're breaking even again before it starts picking up. And then the same cycle happens. And it took me 10 years to realize that when we were busy, I wasn't worried about. We almost ignored the phone. We ignored those potential clients. We stopped inviting people in because we were too busy. But the reality is, when you're the busiest, that's when you have to market the most. That's when you have to make sure there's someone on that phone and that you're actually scheduling the time to make the phone calls while you think you're busy, because that's what's going to give you the consistency. That's what's going to take away the dip. So that way, when you're busy making money, it's not stolen from you because you were too busy to pick up the phone, or too busy to make that extra phone call, or too busy to invite that client back again. And I think it took me I know I'm a slow learner. It took me nearly 10 years to realize that that's what was happening.
I was there with you. I had something very similar when we had our lithographic print business that we talked about at the very start of this podcast. And I had a sales team, right? And I was managing the sales team. And we were having that too. And what is going on? I couldn't figure it out, right? And eventually I figured out that when the factory was busy, the guys in sales took their foot off the gas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I actually had the conversation with them, once I realized what might be going on, they told me that they were afraid to keep selling in case they'd bring in more business that we would take on and then couldn't deliver for the client. So again, we would go out the door, really busy, making money. The sales guys aren't selling anymore. We have this dip. And then we went from making money to losing money to making money to losing money to making money to losing money. Like it's not just photographers, right? It seems to be built into a lot of people.
And in photography, well, in my business, there was a 2-week recovery period. It took us 2 weeks to get the marketing, to launch the marketing, bring in those potential clients, talk to those clients, convert them, and get them in. And then we had 2 weeks of joy, making money, busyness.
So what did you do to fix it, Steve?
I realized how much it was costing me not to employ somebody to be champion of the calls and champion of the diary. I didn't think I could afford someone, but when I worked out how much it was costing me not to have that person, because getting the leads, we could get those potential clients. We weren't doing enough to invite our best clients back. And I realized that anybody worth hiring already had their own network. And so I specifically was looking for somebody who had their own networks, that I wanted to start off on the phone to earn the right to be a salesperson. Because if they come with their own circles, it already proves to me that they can build relationships. They're not burning everybody that they sell. They sell to. That's who I want. I don't want somebody who's there for the kill. I want somebody that's there to build relationships. And if they come with a network, they're no risk, because the first place they start is their own networks, and they're bringing people in that they're comfortable with, they already know, and they cut their teeth on those people, and they can start to learn the systems, they can start to learn all of that. But I think just being aware of it, Ronan, once you work it out, just being aware changes everything. It makes you find there is time. Like when we think we don't have time, we just fill it with stuff. And, you know, to pick up the phone and make that extra phone call is 15 minutes. And that is one more client. And if you do that 2 or 3 times a day, that's 2 clients a day. Makes a massive difference to a photography studio. Probably not so much in your business, but to a photography studio, that's a massive difference. 1 or 2 clients a day, finding that 15 minutes in a day to make a phone call, and that guaranteed person that you got along really well with, is going to be a great client. That there's something and a reason why you should be calling them. Like we knew that those boudoir, when the husbands came in, we flagged them that they were interested in a couple's experience. And when they came in, maybe they didn't want one, but they then talked about their business and how they've been thinking about rebranding, or they've been thinking about something. And so we flagged them and made sure that was on our list, because we've met them. Their wife has come in and had an experience with us. They were there during the sales experience, that spent well with us. Why would we not create a branding experience for them?
Okay, so let's get controversial. So we've discussed about the realizing that our clients are clients for life. They're having the experience, so they'll come back over and over again. So how does that fit with the photographer who says, I'm only doing newborn? I'm not doing anything else. I only do newborn. Like, is that a good strategy for consistent sales, or, where are you on that?
Well, I think it depends on, if you have enough potential clients. And then, once you've built that rapport and done all the work to educate the clients, are you okay with not being their client for life? And not everybody wants to be, because they're stuck in, I'm a newborn photographer, I've bought all these props and I'm going to photograph all these props. And so they're stuck in that world, and they're happy for somebody else to reap the rewards. I actually have a client who worked with a newborn photographer who was blatantly, I'm a newborn photographer, I don't do anything else. And so they were then referred the client, because the client would want to come back for first birthday. They'd want to come back after. And so she said, I get lots of people wanting to come back, but I only do newborn. And so they then were paying the client, paying that photographer. They took on the client, gave them the experience, and then the agreement was they would give them 10% of the sale, that the referring photographer 10% of the sale. And in most cases, that 10% represented more than the newborn photographer made in the first time, in the first case. So, I mean, if you have them, you can always refer them and still, get some sort of income from that referral. I think a lot of people just ignore it and give it away. You could form an agreement, but you could also hire a photographer to do that stuff that you don't like doing.
So, Jonathan, Janine, our fellow mentor, like, she has a lot of clients who come back over and over and over and over again, for what she does. But she also has to have a marketing system to create some new clients for life, right?
Well, new potential clients, yes.
New potential clients, yeah. New potential clients who become clients for life with Janine, right? Because, sometimes your clients just, for whatever reason, in Janine's case, they age out once they go beyond high school or whatever, or, there's a reason. There's always a reason where no matter, every client will become a client for life, right? That's the reality.
And the other thing, Ronan, a business is growing.
Yes.
It's not stagnant.
Yes.
And so if you're only relying on your clients coming back, then you're never growing.
Yes. And not every client will come back, no matter how good you are, right? That's the reality of it. But when you deliver a great service to your clients and you deliver them what they want, they will come back.
Absolutely.
So Jonathan, talk to us about that. Like, to have consistent sales, I've got to have consistent potential clients too, right?
Yeah, I mean, any business, like every business markets, every business has new potential clients coming in the door. And I think the important thing about marketing is having a diverse stream of new potential clients. So, like, for example, uh, planning out your year so that if you're attending exhibitions, that you plan to attend those exhibitions. Your alliances, like building alliances with your clients who have businesses. Your Facebook ads, like Facebook ads, you can turn on and off instantly and have potential clients coming in the door. And I think it's important that you have, because again, like your story about the selling with the salespeople going up and down, we find that like when photographers are busy, they'll turn off their ads or they'll stop doing expos or they'll stop working with their alliances on things. And, then that stream of potential clients falls off, new potential clients, and they have to reinvent the wheel. And, yeah. So it's important that you have a consistent stream of new potential clients as well.
A consistent stream of quality leads, Jonathan.
Yes. And we know from the last podcast, Steve, that quality leads is a mindset.
So what you just said reminded me of a conversation I had yesterday. And I was speaking to one of our members, and they're guilty of relying only on new leads. Biz has a business for 30 years, never markets to her current client base, constantly relying on Facebook to bring them quality leads. And she was complaining to me that she's got 2 staff members, and up until Wednesday, because I spoke to her Wednesday, 2 team members made 2 bookings for the whole week. And I said to her, are they calling leads? Are they spending their time getting through the leads? Or are they calling to excite people so much that they want to book? Are they calling to make bookings, or are they calling the leads? That one shift in mindset, that day, between them, they made 6 bookings. And so that's why when people talk to me about quality leads and what Facebook brings, our mindset completely changes the results that we get. But Ronan, we have to bring out the big gun. The biggest lever in all of this is average sale. Because yes, we need the numbers, but the biggest lever, the biggest gun that we have is our average sale. And doing workshops all over the world, having people send me photographs of their studios and their sales rooms, I see so many sales traps, so many sales killers, so many things that scream to a client, ask me for digitals, or this isn't valuable, or I have a cheap solution for you. And so really knowing how to set up the studio, understanding why clients buy, and then giving your clients permission to have what they deserve rather than valuing my work is another different mindset. And the biggest lever we have in creating a successful business and creating consistency is our average sale, because it compounds. So if you imagine you've done 10 clients for the month, and I've just had this, a client said to me his average is $500. And when you think of, I know who you were thinking about, those clients used to average 300. Now they're averaging 1,300. They're doing less clients but making way more money. So if you think 10 clients a month at 300 is 3,000, but now that they're on 1,300, right, that translates to 13,000. That's a very big difference.
Ginormous. And often for the same amount of effort and input.
Less. Usually less effort. Because once we take away the blocks, once we take away all the stops, once we, it's like driving with a handbrake on, right? The engine's got to work a lot more because we're fighting against the current. We're fighting against the car. It's like swimming against the current of of a stream. A lot of people are swimming against the current, setting up blocks and sending subliminal messages. And it's okay because they don't realize that they're sending these messages that are blocking the client, holding them back. But once you release all of that, there's so much less effort to multiply your average sale.
So I have a question on average sale, because you mentioned that you were speaking to a photographer and they're telling you that, they go through periods where a client, so we've talked about totality of sales, right? I want to zero in on specific clients, because you said you spoke to someone and they told you, if some clients, they come in, they spend 1,000, then the next clients come in, they spend 300, the next come in, they spend 600. I have no consistency on a client by client basis when it comes to average sale. So why is that?
Because they're leaving it to chance and they're not following a system. Like your ad copy formula, there is a sales formula. And then when you add the sales formula in, then you tend to get more consistent results. Lay it on top of that? No. Lay it under that as a foundation is understanding who your clients are and why they buy. What does each personality need to make a decision? And then knowing that and then matching what people need to make decisions. A lot of the times, like an owl personality, when they're ready to make a decision, they swoop in and ask lots of questions. But then that's when you get photographers, and we can only talk about photography and photographers because that's the industry we know. I'm sure it happens in every business. Cringe in the corner thinking that they're being attacked, right? Because, this guy's now swooping in and asking me all the questions and I thought he had them. They agreed. That's how he says yes. And all we have to do is give him the information that he needs in order to make those decisions. So I think the foundation is understanding your clients, understanding those personality types, knowing how each of them buys, and then having a sales structure. Because once you follow the structure, once you follow the recipe, if you don't miss out on any of the ingredients or any of the steps, you tend to get consistency in your sales. And not everybody's going to be a huge sale. Not everybody's going to be a disastrous sale. But there isn't anywhere near as much disparity.
The beauty about what's taught in this area for me is when we say sales, like it's not hard sales tactics, right? We're not getting the crowbar out to open the client's wallet, right? That we often hear mentioned in our industry as this is how you get the crowbar out now and open their wallet from educators, but we won't go there now. It's not about that. It's not about hard sales. It's not about being, used car salesperson, it's not about that.
Sales is about serving, and it's about putting your clients first and allowing them to buy what they deserve. And it almost feels as though a lot of people have a crowbar beating the clients back, stopping them from buying, locking things in a cupboard and saying, no, you can't have this. You can't afford this. I've judged you already. I'm not going to offer you this. And a lot of people talk about pushing product. Well, we should be offering product that, because we've asked the right questions, we know our clients are looking for, and we're helping them solve a problem that they have, and we're providing solutions for them. We shouldn't be pushing, because we should be asking the questions that allow us to know what we should be offering, not pushing.
All right, I'm sold. Jano, what do I do next? I'm listening to the podcast. What's my next step?
What's your next step, Ronan? So your next step, Ronan, to discover how to implement the 3 ways to grow your business. We talked about all 3 on this podcast, which is to get your clients to use you more often, get new clients, and increase your average order, is to sign up for the Inner Circle. So all you have to do is click the link below this video, where you will join a thriving community of difference makers, a thriving community of photographers who are focused on serving their clients, who are focused on creating an incredible experience for their clients, and as a result are rewarded with incredible success. So make sure to join the community. You'll have access to the community, the coaching calls, the incredible training, and the Difference Maker Revolution mentor team to help you achieve your version of success. Get to it. Let's go.
Make a difference, everyone.
See you in there.